Let's go.
Coming up in this episode, a super unexpected bycatch as well as some great targeted species.
Fish heaven. Oh! Yeah!
Welcome to my fishing place, the place to be. And it was the place to be, and you two Muppets left me behind, heading up to Ayr to go and chase some fish. Tell us about the trip.
We headed down to a little place south of Ayr called Groper Creek, and that was our base then for the next few days, and we were fishing with Johnny Campbell, a good mate of ours, and we were chasing barra, mangrove jacks and other species that you find in those estuaries, and we did have a ball of a time, didn't we, Big Red?
We certainly did, Daz, and one of the things that makes, I reckon, a lot of difference on a fishing trip is just someone great to fish with. And the moment you met Johnny, he was just a character and he was a great guy. Johnny's got a great little barra lodge there that we stayed in, and so we're thinking, well, this could be an interesting trip. So day one, we shoot off in the boat, beautiful looking river system, and we get ready to start casting. And you know, you've always got that time of anticipation. Hey, you know, we're getting ready to cast and get ready to fish. Oh, nice. Well, before the trip had started, I talked to Tackle Tactics and they gave us quite a few Z-Man and TT lures, and I also talked to Colin up at Reedy's, and he sent me down some as well, and I thought, we were driving up the river and there was this snag. Now this could be a bone of contention.
We'll talk about that.
Could be a bone of contention because I tied on this trout-coloured B52, and I just for that water, I thought, yeah, I reckon I'll give this one a stab.
Because in northern Queensland, there's a lot of trout, young trout swimming around. So
It's going to definitely be the first colours I'd pick.
I would have picked a trout colour for sure.
Match the hatch to catch the batch.
Wow. I mainly chose it because of this nice silver, there's a bit of pink, and just the green was almost matching with that water. I thought, I reckon that'll be a cracker.
Guaranteed. Oh, look at this. Fish heaven.
I cast the lure and just winding it back in, and I think at this stage I was talking to the boys, and then I look down and I just see this flash, seriously. I just see this flash, and then 2 seconds later just bent. Whoosh, whoa! And I just was not expecting it. Whoa! And it just took on going, what is this fish? And Johnny's like, what the hell is that? Like, was it a queenie or what is it? And anyway, so I'm fighting this thing, and I hardly ever dragged it up because, you know, it was totally unprepared. So cranked the drag up, and it was an awesome fight, absolutely awesome fight. And then I just get a glimpse, it's a GT, and I'm just like, what? Stop it! Yeah, man! Woo! Woo! First cast! Got about the fifth cast, but yeah!
Nice fish.
Get in the boat! And anyway, I see it's a GT, and I just see the lure sort of in the side of its mouth, and I was just freaking out that we're going to lose this fish. I'm like, Johnny, get the net! And I was just, my heart was in my mouth for about 10 minutes. And then finally, you know, in the net, and I'm just like, yes. Because seriously, it was just the most unexpected fish. I just thought, what the hell's that doing up here? And it was just, you know, I chose the lure. Contrary to popular belief, I chose the spot to cast, and boom, landed the GT. And I was just that pumped. I just thought the rest of the trip is going to be a cracker. Woo! Holy nothing! Yes! Yes! Thank you, Johnny!
I'll probably never say this again, but I must say, Big Red did a good job.
Wow, that must
I may never say it again, but
That's pretty hard.
Well, what I'm saying is,
wow.
it was a bait caster. It was barra gear. I think you're probably on I don't know.
Yeah, 1-3.
1-3, whatever. But anyway, with 30-pound braid, like that fish could have towed you for a long way to actually fight that fish and get that fish in on a small bait caster in the time that you did. I think it was only about 10 to 15 minutes. Big Red did a great job of landing that
Well,
fish.
I was tired. I was so tired. I was thinking, please just come in. And you know, you'd like this, I'll forget. I'm almost crying. So, but yeah, it was just, yeah, memorable fish, and yeah, just fantastic. What a great catch, day one. That is going to go down in the history of one of my greatest catches ever. So I am going to take this little Reedy's B52 trout colour, common in salt water, and I'm going to pop them on the board because I'll never forget that catch. And so day one, couldn't get better.
Coming up after the break, those hard-hitting jacks really turn on. What happened day two?
Well, day two was a mixture, wasn't it, Dazza? I remember we headed out looking for queenies and some more trevallies off that edge, didn't we? But it turned out a bit windy.
Chased a bit of tuna again, a little bit too windy, didn't really get too much there. So we headed into the flats. John said, let's move up into a couple of these little creeks where the mangrove jack might be sitting, and he was dead right.
I've never really fished weedless before. You know, a lot of you guys, you know, might have fished for quite some time, but when I talked to Justin down at Tackle Tactics, he said, look, take these little Calico Candy Minnow Zeds, rig weedless, and I was just absolutely gobsmacked with where we were throwing these lures. Yeah. We were throwing them just into branches that were laying down. And so they drop in, dunk, 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 then you just lift them up and this little tail just drops back in. And what was the result?
Yes, a jack.
Yeah, well, the amazing thing was you could actually throw them through mangroves. So because it's weedless, you drag it up over a stick, let it drop down. So the lures often coming out of the water and then dropping back down, and then in between the branches, whack, these jacks would hit it. Now, any of you that fished for mangrove jack before will know they're one tough customer. So it's okay to get the hook up between a couple of branches, but extracting the jack, now that's another story.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've got to be where the fish are, and if you're getting the strikes and the hookups, well, you're in with half a chance.
Yeah, well, I remember I got bricked probably 4 times, like I just saw, yes, cast, Big Red, cast. Yeah, and it was in the middle of the sticks, just like, boom, okay, next lure, please. But, you know, I just think, you know, if you tried to fish where we did, you know, non-weedless or with a hard body, there was just no chance. And where these jacks were that day, it was the only thing you could get in there with, and I was just, like I said before, I was just absolutely gobsmacked.
Get in the boat.
Yes. Action begets strategy. Beautiful. Little jack, man, look at him. No better fish to break the drought than a mangrove jack.
Because one of the old things about jack fishing always used to be, well, if you're not getting snagged up on every third cast, you're not close enough to cover. Yeah. Well, these things, you get right into cover. And, you know, like Lee's saying, that bank was there. If you were more than 30 centimetres away from the bank or the snag, you would not get a hit, okay? But you put that, you know, hitting the dirt or landing on the mud bank and letting it flick down and flick it over those sticks, that's where you always got struck, every single time.
Beautiful little jack. That's a nice colour.
Anything 40 plus is a good sized jack, and particularly extracting out of that sort of territory. And the one that I got with 43 up there, which is quite a good sized jack, literally came from me dropping the rod right next to the boat. You know, like we'd pulled up next to a snag and I've dropped it down, and within 2 lifts it's whack, you know, so it was literally 6 feet from the boat, dropping it down into the snags, because we got right up in those tight little corners of the top of the creek there.
There you go.
Yes! That's a good jack. That's a jack.
That, my friend, is what we came for.
For the size of fish they are and the way they hit your rod, it is just, it's like getting electrocuted, just that whack. and then you're either on
They're
or
angry,
off.
aren't they?
Yeah.
They're angry
Well, the
fish.
thing about a jack is that they are one of the most fastest striking fish that it will hit a lure or bait. And the reason why it is a jack will generally come out and hit on the way back in. That's why they're so hard to extract, because they're not coming out, hitting a lure like that, and you're sort of dragging him like that. Generally, a jack will come out and hit the lure on his way back into the snag.
Yeah.
So he's full pelt. By the time you feel him, he's already got momentum back into his snag, which is why you need to turn them instantly and real quick, which is, again, what makes jack fishing so much fun.
Woo! So lads, you went out, had a hot session on jacks,
Jack attack!
and then I was getting some photos through of some barra though. So I'm sitting at the office, these boys are texting me barra pics. How about after the break we come back and have a look at some different species? Coming up after the break, the barra turn on for the trip. So lads, why don't you tell me a little bit about the stories behind the pics of these barra?
Well, before we talk about the actual barra, I think Big Red, you better tell us a little bit about the lure that you were using and how you came across to have that lure.
Again, a classic fishing story. So there we are, way up this creek, and we're just casting lures, casting lures, casting lures. Someone said, oh, lure in the tree. So we get up there and we find this halco sitting in a tree. So some bloke has been snagged. It was fairly high. So
It looked like one of
Big Red had been casting up that creek before. That's how he knew where the lure was.
And anyway, we go and get this lure, and then it was the next day, I think, and Johnny said, we're going to troll for some big barra. And so we trolled and trolled and trolled. And I must have tried 5 or 6 different lures. And I thought, oh, well, you know, someone was tossing this around for barra.
Or koalas.
Or, yes, marine koalas. And anyway, sure as eggs, tie this on, and a couple of trolls later, boosh, he's on, he's on. Well, first barra of the trip, and I was just, pull her in the boat, and I'm just thinking, that is uncanny. Oh, yeah! Solid hit. Solid hit. Just about to play. This is our guy, Johnny's head. This is amazing. Yeah, sick. Oh, worked hard for it all day. Woo! Bazza! Woo! Solid hit. A barra on a lure found in a tree. So from now on, I'm only shopping in treetops for lures. Yes.
So let me get this straight. The first fish you caught was a lost GT on a trout lure. The second one, you had to find the lure in the tree to catch your barra.
I think that's unfair. I've got a claim for unfair treatment.
Well, I guess my story wasn't that much
Oh
worse.
yes. Here's a story of proactive fishing.
Well, as my co-hosts know here, sometimes I get a little weary in the day. As
It's old age, doesn't it?
when I'm out there fishing, it's hard work in the sun, so I've lied down in the boat. I thought I might have a little kipsy, so I've laid down for about an hour and had a little sleep at the bottom of the boat.
1 hour.
of prime fishing time.
It's the middle of the day. There's no fish anyway. So I woke up. I think I tied on a new lure. Throw it at the back. About 2 or 3 minutes later, oh, he's on! In comes my barra.
So that could be a new tactic. A little kip, nana nap in the middle of the day and get on. Oh, wow.
Oh, acrobat.
Great fish.
So we'd come up here to catch barra, and we caught a couple of barra, so it was just a great feeling to have targeted the species and come up with a couple, even if it took a nap to do it.
Coming up after the break, one of those rare sessions of jacks on the surface.
Let's go.
And how's the lure, pardon the pun, of trying to catch fish on the surface again? We were fishing one side of the bank, and there was a boat parked there where we were hoping to go past, and the current was running a bit much. And Johnny said, look over there. There was like this river mouth that was coming out that didn't really, there wasn't a lot of snags, but he said, you know what? There's a fair bit of current pushing out of there over that sort of. There was a couple of mud banks. He said, let's have a bit of a flick over there. So over we went. And I think you and Johnny both tied on the surface lures. And what happened?
Surface action is just the greatest form of fishing. I had 3 or 4 casts with this, and just, you know, it's a nice sort of walk the dog, click, 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 really easy. And just took the next thing, boom, jack on the surface. And I was like, oh, hit, and I went, whoa, 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 and a mangrove jack.
On the surface. Boom! That's how you do it. Yeah, that's it. That is so cool. That's a good jack too, man.
Oh, I was just so pumped because I'd never caught a mangrove jack on surface before. I didn't know what I was going to get. Absolutely pumped, and I was just so glad again, you know, that I'd chosen a lure. I reckon this one will do it.
Reedy's J Walker. I had a good feeling. Paid off.
Caught a mangrove jack, super pumped with that. Then 3 casts later, I must have pulled out a 60 or 70 centimetre flathead off the surface, and I was just that pumped. And that, again, that session was amazing. It was just so much fun.
Bloody. Oh, it's bloody. Get it, Pricey.
You know?
Nice.
Is that where you use these little cats?
Johnny did.
Yeah, well, see, these things are, this is like those, what we were talking about before with the diesels. These are like
Pop shad, though.
pop shad, but they're weedless. And where we were fishing at that creek mouth, it didn't matter so much. You could just toss them in there because there was no sort of cover anyway. But these things pop beautifully. It's amazing. They don't look like they got much on the front there,
No.
but they make a beautiful little popping sound. And I got smashed by, and I missed it, but I smashed by a big jack on one of these. But these things are unbelievable up the creeks where you got overhanging trees, because you can actually like cast these things at an angle. They hit the water and they just skip, right? So you actually see there's a tree and you go whack like that, and they'll skip maybe 5 meters right up under everything. And look, there's no way you get a lure in there normally, but like, you know, it's a weedless lure, and they just bounce. It's amazing to see. I didn't believe Johnny when he first told me. And then you can be doing these little pops from, you know, 5 meters up into the underneath the trees. It's amazing. I think Johnny got a couple of fish on these.
It smashed it.
But yeah, that was a great little session in that creek mouth.
Got to catch fish before the end of the barra season.
So it was a cracker of a trip. I mean, things we haven't even mentioned are like one afternoon there was barra busting up on the surface right near the banks, and we threw in surface lures, got smashed by those guys. Whoa. We saw local guys catching fish. One of the local guys took us for a trip to his house and showed us all the pictures of all the floods and all the big barriers caught over the years.
You'd have loved to have a camera there, I can tell you.
It was just an awesome trip, and we'd like to thank Johnny Campbell for his great hospitality and put us onto the fish in the Burdekin.
Okay, everybody, make sure you grab one of these bad cats, get it on the end of your line. These things are out catching fish. I think we're up to about 15 or 16 species. Get out, get a photo with it, send it to us, and let us make you famous. Next episode, we head south to chase the mighty Murray cod.
My fishing place claims another victim.